When Sean sent us the information that he updated on the water rates, did he make copies, or is it just on our
I think
email?
Did he update the actual study?
Well, he took that original page where all what the rates would be, but down over here, he's made notes of what the actual costs would be. Rather, we're not charging that rate, but he made a note that this is the actual cost.
I think he CC'd me in that, so I don't know.
Okay, it's on,
I
all
haven't.
right.
If you find it and print a copy, I could give it out to everybody.
Where would I send the print?
I will help you with that.
Okay,
There is a amendment to this of the typo.
oh my goodness, come on,
It's
Linda.
got the wrong appendix.
I
In
want to go
his study?
to.
No, in the actual resolution.
What?
Oh, we'll fix that.
And it's an easy fix, I just need to get it on the record when we get to that point.
And if you want to, we can edit the motion.
See, right here.
If we edit it soon.
It's not the motion itself.
Oh.
It's the actual lettering of the appendices in here. It says H and it's actually I.
So do we need to say that in the
See
motion?
here, it says I here, Public Works 1, Appendix H. It's actually, Appendix H is something else. So it's Appendix I.
Let's do it.
Do they need to say in the motion what that means, or can we just, since it's more, can we just bring it back?
This is a scrivener's, so as long as it's, I mean, that is a scrivener's error, that has nothing to do with substance. So as long as, well, if it passes.
Interesting.
As long as.
Just got that about 4 o'clock.
It's okay. That is one of those
Maybe
things
you'll
that
get
we
it.
can go in and fix, because we can't do it in color anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we needed to record all errors on these, or just
I didn't get that.
or just non.
Where'd you get it from?
Substantive errors. Scrivener's errors don't need it. There's no one next appendix.
And we'll have to do this tomorrow,
Mhm.
so you'll help me make sure it's right.
Because you gotta pull the old ones out anyway, so I mean,
I didn't check it.
You do? Okay. All right, I'm on your page, on the page. So,
So push those little dots, I think. Nope, maybe
Okay.
push file.
yeah, and then it says print, but where do I send it to print?
Let's see if it's on there. Oh, so click that and see if it,
That's mine at home.
actually, let's just forward it to me and I'll go print it.
Okay.
Of course, now made the computer mad. Sorry, I wish he had CC'd me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been crazy around
And then I
here.
struggled with grants.gov and login.gov. Because they were bad, and they used to be.
And we are live on sound.
Yeah, I thought we were.
Yeah, we had to just try out on both, on all the world.
The whole world.
Well, I mean, probably the two people on YouTube.
Okay.
I only get one password too, so, yeah, that was much of a better than I did.
that is the only scrivener's error I see.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it is. Okay, forward.
Well, I also wrote in the motion which ones it was, so we'll want to check that too.
Oh,
Forward.
Yeah.
I don't want you up there.
Don't
Okay.
you love it when it's like in a hurry?
Yes, and I always get excited when I have to do this. Okay, it's Myra.
Yep.
Myra Miller. Both of them or just one?
Just that one's fine. That's my first one.
Okay.
So go ahead and push send, and I'll go print just copies for council.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to make some others.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Because I think this is important to discuss.
So it's
Mine.
there on there too.
Yeah, appendix I.
Okay, we'll change that.
Yep.
Hi guys, nice to see you again.
What is a commodity charge when it refers to water? monthly commodity charge, all types, for 1,000 gallons.
That's the one, that's after the meter. We charge $14 now, and we charge so much after the meter, like 38 cents,
Well, we were,
1,000 or 100.
we've been charging $3 per 1,000. But this says commodity charge is 30 cents.
38?
It just says 30 cents, but it should be 3.48. Maybe there's just corrections. We have to set the Glen edition too, don't we?
Let's see.
Just the base rate, what we charge.
Like our increases, I've always said at the dining that if people speak to me, all of the work
I had a pretty good meeting today
Where'd you go?
with the Macklin family. Macklin family. That's a nice one. It's a big family.
That's good.
Yeah. It was
That was
surprising.
crazy.
Just making sure.
I
I was gonna introduce myself.
felt like kind of,
Oh, I'm just messing with you. I wanted to push that button.
I forgot he had a broken wing.
Yeah, he does. You do this on the ground, or what do you do? Is that Matt? Okay. Where's it in here? Do that. Let go. Got it.
Base rate that basically
Yes.
covers all the costs
Got his in right.
to produce the water. Basically, that
So,
like.
okay, if we go up here,
Oh, Devari.
People here?
hey, Devari.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on up here.
A lot easier deal than the last one.
They use, what do you call it? They use a knife with it.
No,
it's
they
$14 base rate. and
actually
then
replaced the whole
there's
joint with metal.
$23 per thousand.
It's a new
Down
ball and
here,
socket.
it's
They reversed all the sockets.
There is that 30 cents an additional charge. Over here,
that.
3.48, so
And
it's
you saw both bones and
now rather than
put a ball on one and a socket on the other. Like you have a ball and socket, and then
But if we charge 1,000 for what, okay, base rate, let's say $20, base rate, plus 3.48 per 1,000 gallons, is that gonna get that right there? Is that what you're saying?
you know our favorite sack doctors. They're no longer cash power.
You get down here and don't confuse the shape.
I guess not.
The only thing I have is
I don't know.
Delinquent fees, we're only charging $5, we should really have delinquent fees.
Yeah, I was disappointed. What's this?
Maybe they're gonna open up their own.
Yeah, so what we usually do is estimate the cost that we
That's interesting.
I was disappointed. Here, it's good.
Yeah, me too, because I was
Yeah, I see Isaiah's out there.
Who's
that?
deal with
All right,
that?
give me those sit down. Okay, there's no water here, but there's water in there. There was just. And maybe this is I'll get a little while. If I say we're doing it right, I guess. Thanks, Dave.
So I copied it, but I used it wrong. Like I stapled it in the wrong corner.
It's okay,
That was upside down.
Good, yes.
That is upside down.
it's okay.
Councilwoman Smith asked for a copy of that email. It's basically what's on the resolution.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't more prepared.
No, that's fine, 'cause this is.
It was kind of weird. I spent
Probably neither.
2 hours on the phone with Bruce.
Mr. Aaron,
Yeah.
So super fast, and I don't know if you can answer this. I forgot a paper at the house, it's on my counter that I'd really like to have for tonight. Do you think that this is gonna push right up until 7:30? I guess I'm wondering, should I just hurry and go right now and just be a few minutes late right this minute?
I would.
Or should I wait and go like a quarter after?
Look how close
I'll be
it,
right back.
look how close it pushed us the last time.
Okay, I'll be right back then.
I'm just saying, that's what I was
I'll be right back.
I gotta find that
I
green
need
one.
Josiah. But I've never seen one do this before.
What? You know, my email wasn't even open today, forever. So,
Debbie, will you see if Josiah's out there and have him come here? See if Josiah is out there. I've never seen it do.
There he is.
That before.
is this,
He
he heard you.
Nothing. Went dead.
A minute ago, it had a screen I've never seen before, and it had diagnosis, that and the other.
Okay.
And then it came up Dell, and then it came back to that diagnostic sign. And then
Let's see, here is water bill for Grable.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyway, it's an interesting conversation.
Same old, same.
$36
All about the
for water, sewer is $26.
A lot of that, and
Garbage $30.75, and miscellaneous about $15.
Okay, so. We had 37.
No,
Where's
you just
their,
Water.
said where
where's the other
he
portion?
would,
They charge that, but they also charge
thinks we ought to go
up to,
for
they
this.
can use up to, I think,
and I do too, but that
I think
surprised
she
me
said
coming from him.
40,000 or 30,000.
I said, we didn't need to show up tonight and say that.
We can charge us 1,000.
What I do to it.
That is wrong.
Oh, but it says
I'm thinking
we're
originally
doing
that was
4,000.
No.
Sometimes
We do
laptops, if there's on their
100 because
charge,
it
it
meters.
boots up and then it goes down because it doesn't have enough power.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the
So
issue.
why, so have we not been charging
Conversation with
anything for 20 years?
No, they charge. They charge. Oh, I was right what I could see figured out, but
Just out of curiosity, so
We
do
didn't
you,
hear
right
about
here,
it.
just in town.
do you charge this? Or?
Usually I do.
Okay.
I think it was charged all but the last day or so.
Just on that bill.
Just leave it set for a while.
Well, if the battery's been charged,
So they're, so we should be charging per 100, is that what you're saying? Or
I think it would work.
we pass it on 100, not me, but that's what it's been.
Because we
In
don't
this
have
one, she had more water,
how to do that.
set fees.
Urban systems, they did all the homework.
Well, and I think one thing that we can talk about is you're not supposed to use a traffic control sign for speed limit.
She's been watering the lawn there.
There's some places that
I
might be.
noticed today, fire department, fire truck, 2 pickups.
there we go.
Is that,
I think they were going to
is
speed
that
limit, but
statement
it's
in my,
too fast for
the financial and my
residential area.
I'll go grab it. Well, I can go grab that one too, just so I can.
So I might want to eventually
Are you
get you
sure?
a laptop.
Thank you, I
because that's
appreciate
usually
it.
an indication that it's-
They don't have replaceable batteries.
These ones, I mean, the problem is the battery's embedded in the laptop.
It's a pain.
So,
I know there for a while they were easily, and then some were not, and some were just not replaceable.
yeah, it depends on the laptop and the brands. Like, I've had Dell or HPs and stuff like that usually have replacement batteries, but stuff like this usually it's one of those things where you basically have to unscrew everything. It's usually embedded in there, and so
I've seen them with Harvey cars. How do you see?
So we
yeah,
get
so it's restarting.
overcharged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was doing an update. It looks like must have gotten a little bug there. When I was trying to
Okay, I'm not getting,
see that. Yeah, let's definitely get you a new laptop.
And any people continue. They always, they work perfectly till you're in public. Yeah.
displacement.
I bet I bought 10,000 things. I don't know if I could walk in my house and find one. Same with scissors.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
This is just doing finalization. Let's make sure this thing is not
See, this is what
fully triple.
was started over here. See, this is what we've been paying plus that.
I've seen Windows
Okay,
updates
that's what we've got down here.
screw up a computer where it basically comes
Should've
in.
been $3.
It's still giving me the blue screen again.
Oh, it is? Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, should be good.
Thank you. I'm glad I saw you out there.
Did they charge you $120 for yours too?
I have no idea. I'm on Medicare, so.
Two, okay.
This is so
1
hard
and
to
2,
follow.
just, it's been, just rip it
everything I'm
apart.
saying is coming.
There's 14 fixed rate,
I don't care.
and then you fix it over,
imagine that.
yeah,
I'm
that's $1.48. It should have been $3.
Yeah,
Lock
it's
it out again.
$3.
No, it's
That's what they're
expired and I gotta change it.
48, but we
Password.
should have been getting
I'd hate that
$3
on
per
mine, too.
thousand.
So,
Yeah. Better than that.
so what did you need, Wendy?
I just wanted to let you know that. Resolution. There's a couple of.
Because
How are you?
every 1,000 gallons.
Hey, thanks for that report. Looks good. Yeah.
Non-substantive, nothing in the numbers is wrong. It's things like appendix letter.
Okay.
So it's nothing that needs to be amended or anything in the record.
Did she make a mistake on
Okay.
this?
Before you sign. I just
Oh,
wanted to
no,
let you
she was
know.
very clear.
Okay.
It's nothing substantive.
And I figured out the actual resolution itself.
She's trying to figure out.
Oh, is that, you know what happened? We
Playing
have that
games late at
restriction thing
night.
that went into and
Yeah,
bounced
just 'cause I
off
use
our regular
password, I'll
stuff.
probably do mine
No?
sometime too. I hate that.
Change password just because I can type with one finger.
Yeah.
And that's okay until you have to capitalize it.
It's true.
Well, you should cap lock, so you got.
But then you have to remember to take caps lock off.
That's why.
It's got the normal.
Quick clarification.
Yes, please, I'm right.
So this, all of these costs
Yes.
are justified in the water study,
Uh-huh.
with the exception of a few of the fees. I don't know if that,
Why is the fees changing? I mean,
just
And the resolution red line edition.
current rates.
Because I figured out that that's what this is, and this is just a better format.
Okay.
Right, because
It's the same thing.
I'm pretty sure Sean just sent you all the changes, right?
Okay.
And then if you look on here, see they're in the resolution itself.
why do we charge a disconnect and notice fee?
Yeah, we can't.
So
or we won't.
I realize this is probably not as useful as the
So-
actual
I don't
resolution
agree with the
and the red
disconnect
line resolution.
And so
Yeah.
This sheet
So,
here,
just in
What
case that's
is
create
displacement? What does
we're
displacement
also
mean?
getting rid
Is
of.
that, I know
It's
this
just a
is
type
like,
of meter.
okay,
Look at the
so,
So like,
Was the
no,
fire
like submeters or compound and
Okay.
summer displacement.
and turbine
for fire?
is the name of a meter.
Because
It's a meter type.
why would we ever charge someone who has a burning structure for the water? Do we charge them for the water that comes from the hydrant when they put out a fire? No, we don't.
No, we haven't been.
No, and why would we put that in here? That seems very unfair. Okay.
All right, so I'm about ready. Is everybody else ready?
Well, we'll ask questions.
Yeah. I'm looking at this, is this what they're talking about, raising it to,
Correct.
all the way
So
down?
here's the resolution and the red line version, because it'll be easier to
Depending upon the size of the
resolution and resolution.
Right, of the meter.
Because this is what's actually. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? What I just said.
And see, here's per 1,000 gallons is 348.
Yeah, that's why I say,
Then
so
according
this
to-
is what they're wanting to charge.
We
Per
charge
thousand, but it's metered at
high,
$100 and charged at $100.
$100.
So you have to go 32.8, 74. You know, 0.348 cents per hundred.
Well, 386 per thousand is 38.6 cents per hundred.
Does it all shake out?
It all shakes,
Okay, it's not, it's,
That was the question, is why are we going to do 1,000 instead of
That's still
but I think
30.
we always have.
instead of 1,000, instead of 100, right?
Right,
because that's what
we've always done it.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta call this to order.
Go ahead.
All right, it's 6:14, sorry I'm late. Computer tricking me here. I will call this workshop to order and turn over the presentation to, this has Carl Brown, is he here? Okay, who wants to talk?
Carl, probably.
Carl?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Okay, and actually, I think it's going to be a combination of me and a few staff, but I'm going to start off by reminding you all that I'm your utility rate analyst. I analyze your water rates to try to get you all in shape so that you can do the source water repair and keep up with operating costs and all that sort of stuff. A week and a half, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I put together what I hoped would be the final rate analysis report for you. In the meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago where I was there with you, we went over that. And then in the meantime, staff, and I think you all may have had a question or two, you brought just a few things up, so I changed a few things. And the modeling and the narrative report are a bit different now. It's pretty much the same report, but there's a few little changes here and there. So now we hopefully have a final report and a final set of rates, and I'll talk about those a little bit. But to give you the kind of the snapshot of what all of this comes down to is you were rocking along just fine before the source water system went down. You actually were very close to paying all of your operating costs with the rates that you had and now have. You were within, I calculated 5.3% of having completely adequate rates. Now, rate structure is another thing, but they were adequate, pretty close to it anyway. And then the source water system went down. You're looking at a $20 million bill to be able to bring that back up. And then you have some other expenses coming along, but it's mostly the source water system that has to be refurbished or rebuilt. And that $20 million bill is going to seriously increase your operating costs. And it's going to force you all to come up with what amounts to about another 45% in additional revenue to be able to fully pay your operating costs from before, but also the debt service for repairing the source water system. Now, from there, I'm going to jump into a few questions that folks had, and I'm going to, let's see if I could have the host go ahead and let me share screen. I need to show a few slides and things like that. Okay, where's your computer techie guy who can
I'm working on it.
get me set up and share?
Trey, the green button down below. The up carrot? Yeah.
Does that let you go?
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, do you all see the table that starts at the top, table 18?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, table 18, I think confused people, or at least a little bit of it confused people. And actually, because of that, I'm going to reword something in my template so that it's really hard to get confused by what one line says and then what a whole bunch of other lines say. That third line that you see says, on average, the modeled rates will be 50.2% higher than the current rates. That's misleading because a lot of folks will read that and they're going to think, oh, okay, my bill's going to go up 50%. Well, that's not the case. It depends on how big the meter is that someone is served by. It depends on how much water they use. So there are two big variables that come into play. On average, what I was really meaning to say, and this is what I'll say in the revised version of the template, is the modeled rates will increase or decrease revenues by 50.2%. So I'll change that table for rate analyses later on and talk about revenues when I do that average percentage increase. And then in the table where I show detail about what will happen to bills of different meter sizes or different customer types using different volumes, then that is just what will happen to their bill. So for example, the first one, for no gallons of use, in other words, they didn't use any water that month, they just paying the minimum charge. In that case, their bill right now is $14, just the minimum charge. At the new rates, their bill, again, would just be the minimum charge, and that would be $29.48. For an increased rate of 111%, it would just a little bit more than double. In other words, the minimum charge is far too low right now to pay your fixed costs. And then if we jump down to the 10,394 gallon per month, that's the system-wide average for 5/8 and 3/4 inch meter customers. For that volume, the bill is right now $45.18. It would go to $65.65 for a 45% increase. So you can see the 50% average, system-wide anyway, over all rate classes. We're enclosing that 50% between the 10,348, 394 gallons and no gallons. Now, to make the picture probably for a lot of people even more confusing is when addition bills would change differently than the current just regular in-town 5/8 3/4 inch meter customers' bills. They would go to the same rates as the regular customers, but their starting place is different. Right now, they're billed on an average use across the Grand Addition area basis. So by my calculation, based on the usage data I got, their average use per month throughout the year was 6,319 gallons per month. So the bill for that was $32.96. It would go to $53.84 for a 63% increase. And if some customer used 20,000 gallons, it'd be a 200% increase. Basically, it would double. So it depends on, again, their use. And all of the other classes change, the bills change differently. But when you do a weighted averaging of all the bills throughout the year, the average increase works out to 50.2%. So I'll call that revenue from now on instead of an average increase. That is kind of at the heart of several of the council's questions. So that is the first question that someone asked. The base rate is 14, now it goes to 29. That's obviously a doubling. So how does that square with the 50%? Again, it's the weighted average difference in revenues that the rates would generate. Now I'll go to another question. System development fees versus tap fees or tap-on fees. Right now you assess a fee that's called a tap-on fee, and that fee basically just reimburses the city for out-of-pocket costs to connect a new customer. So that fee is only paying for, let me back up just a little bit more. That fee is only paying for the cost of actually making the connection. So you got a little administration to sign somebody up to make a new tap. You permit them to make the tap. They make all the underground work before they bury it anyway. They make all of that underground work. I'm pretty sure you go out and you inspect connections before they bury their work. And then after it's all done, you end up charging them for whatever your costs were to allow and enable them to make those connections. That cost is something which, by all rights, you should recover regardless of whether you assess a system development fee or not. The system development fee that I calculated, I calculated it so that the small meter customers fee would end up being the same as what your tap-on fee is right now, $1,000. So they would pay $1,000 worth of the cost of the peak flow capacity in the system. That's the part that I calculated. And then I'm just recommending to you all that whatever out-of-pocket costs you incur to permit and enable and make new connections, you recover the out-of-pocket, whatever it is. But in addition, you also assess a system development fee, which I calculated to be $1,000, which for a small meter customer, that would end up being $2,000. Basically what I'm recommending is you double the fee for a small meter connection. $1,000 is really, really cheap. I see $5,000 and $10,000, $13,000 or $15,000 in Wyoming a lot. So you're just not collecting hardly any of the capacity cost of even a small meter connection. To show you what I ended up having to do to be able to arrive at $1,000, your annualized cost of peak flow capacity, this is what it costs you every year to have peak flow capacity to supply water to everybody, it's $790,000. In order to arrive at $1,000 small meter peak flow capacity or system development fee, I could only calculate that you recover 0.253% of that $790,000. So you're just not going to recover your peak flow capacity. You're going to get a tiny part of it at the rates that I've calculated here. That's not actually terribly important, terribly critical, because when you do grow, you grow slowly. So you could double, triple, or multiply that fee by 10 times. You could charge $10,000 for a small meter. But if you're only connecting 2 new connections every year, it's only $20,000. So $2,000 or $20,000, it's not really important money. The important thing about setting system development fees on a meter size basis, though, is that as the meter size gets bigger, the large meter customers pay proportionately more for the capacity that you obligate to them. Okay, any questions on tap fees for the average or revenue generation of new rates?
I don't see anybody's hands up. Oh, excuse me. Councilman Weisenberg.
So you have it in here at 111% increase. And then you're I guess I'm more still confused on how you're saying the revenue stream is going to only be 50%, because when I calculate that out, it comes out to more than double the amount that we currently make right now. So that's well over 50% increased revenue. And I mean, at current rate right now, the revenue I show at the current bill would be somewhere in the amount of, or the difference in the bill is $666,000, a little over that. And then the difference in the rate is $214,000, almost $215,000. So it comes out to a total of $881,000 in difference. So that's well over the 50% still.
The increase in revenues, the revenue increase that I calculate is based on what would happen in a full year's worth of new rate revenues. So it's not just what you would collect during the first year. You know, you adjust your rates right now and they'll be in place for at least part of a fiscal year. It's not the revenue increase of that actual year, it's the rate of increase over a full year of the new rates. So that's probably the difference that's kind of throwing you. The revenues, yes, will go up a lot. They will, the only revenues I'm talking about in this comparison are the user charge revenues, the minimum charges, the unit charges. It's not system development fees or any other fees or rates. It's only the user charge rates and fees. So that part goes up 50.2%, that revenue stream, over a full year's time.
So is the revenue at 52% increase, is that due to the fact of the inflation over the course of, you're projecting over the course to decrease that 111%? And employment and stuff like that? Is that what this is taken into consideration?
No, it doesn't have to do with those things. It has just to do with the revenue actually generated. I'm going to try to get a spreadsheet open for you so you can see that a little bit better.
This is calculated out of what we currently use, what's currently used with the projected increase rate.
Getting the spreadsheet zoomed enough so that you can see it is
Right there.
the real trick when you do spreadsheets. Okay, now I'm going to change my share. So, okay, do you see a really zoomed up spreadsheet now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it says operating incomes, kind of toward the bottom that you see. This table is my table 3 in the model. This is the income tracking table. So this first column, column E, is the test year. So that was fiscal year 2021. It started July 1 of 2020. So that was the year that we gathered data from. Your revenues, user charge revenues that year were $2,150,000 change. The next fiscal year, and the rates that I calculated, I don't believe kicked in. No, they would not kick in at all during that year. So that was just the growth in customers. You had a little spurt of growth. So $2,118,000. And then you see in the next year, which is the now current fiscal year, and this won't even be for the entire year, but for this year, your revenues would go to $3,307,000 and change. That's the 50% increase that I'm showing at the top of table 18.
So the 50% increase is just over a course of a handful of months, ultimately. So that's where you're getting your 50%. You're calculating the rest of this fiscal year is going to increase the revenue by 50%.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Smith?
Another related question. Let's see, I need to back up.
Councilman Smith has a question for you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Carl, let me just kind of ask you a few questions, basically for the big picture. Now, the rate that you're proposing is the $29 and some cents, plus the user rate is like $3.48 for usage per 1,000 gallons. Now, when you projected all of these figures for us, did this include, it's $20 million for the replacement of Sage Creek water line. It includes 2 personnel for the pre-treatment plant. It includes 4% per year, is that correct? And then I think there was the other question. Oh, I think somewhere in the data that you handed out previously, you had mentioned that we would be, excuse me just a moment, I had it right here. Oh, you put some information in there for all of the distribution lines inside the city limits. Am I correct that this, if we were to pass this tonight or at a subsequent night or whatever, would that include all of those things so that we could be assured of being able to meet our debt service and our expenses over a long period of time? I would suppose that you projected it over 10 years, but I'm sure that USDA would want it over 20 years or more. I'd have to ask Austin on that point, but.
Okay, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
Table 4 is operating costs. I separate operating costs from capital improvement and debt-related costs. Partly just to make tables simpler to look at, but mainly so that I can do some calculation of operating ratio, coverage ratio, some financial indicators. You have to segregate operating costs from capital costs, from debt costs, to be able to calculate those sorts of things. So table 4 is your operating costs, and I'm going to go to the bottom of table 4. During the test year, your total, and can you see that $1,738,000 that I've got highlighted?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, is it big enough for you to be able to see very well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So during the test year, your operating costs were $1,738,000 and change, and then mostly with inflation, that's going to go up through the years. So when you get out 7 or 8 years, it's going to get to $3 million. That's part of your costs. Capital improvement and debt costs are going to change a lot. So remember that I was talking about, call it $1.5 million to approaching $2 million over the next year or two. Capital improvements, the total costs are going to end up being nothing for last year and this year, but then the next, I say this year, the calculation year, but the fiscal year you're in now, if you were to be able to design this thing and get going soon enough and build like crazy, I don't think you can do that because we're going to hit winter pretty soon. But if you did it that soon, it would be $23 million and change total cost. If you did manage to do all those things at that sort of a rate, then total debt payments, right now they're $420,000. They will be that until the year after, approximately, the year after you build or substantially build the new line and source water collection system. And that would run your debt service up to $1,260,000. So we would run it up to the tune of $839,000, in fact. That is a huge change. That $800,000 or $900,000 as compared to your current, right now, operating costs of $1.8 million, you're going to be boosting your operating plus CIP and debt service costs by about 50%. Again, that's where the 50% need of extra revenue comes in. It's almost completely due to the debt service you're going to pay to rebuild that system. So did I catch all of your question there? All the costs are in, and if you experience all these costs on this kind of a schedule, and adopt these rates, then you'll be able to pay for all of them as you go through time.
And you're not taking into account any revenue that we may raise through grants? That's...
I do not have grant revenue in the assumption for how you would fund it.
So,
right now, my assumption is that all of the water supply project rehab would be paid by debt, the header of this section. So that $20 million would be paid by debt, and then you have a number of other projects. It's mostly neighborhood water supply lines. Those I also assumed would be paid by debt. And then you have just a little bit of grant for the rehab.
mm-hmm.
$675,000, I understand you have obligated to this point, and a SCADA system that you're looking to put in, you would pick up half of that cost from a grant. But those are the only grants that I've heard of that you're in line for. Now, if you can pick up some grant money, and I'll tell you what, if for example, you were to pick up, I don't want to, put all kinds of starry-eyed dreams in your head, but if you were to pick up half of the total cost of that rehab project, you would be cutting this $839,000 annual payment in half. That would be a real big deal. $400,000 savings would be really, really big. But at this point, I haven't heard of any assumptions or plans or whatever that you would be able to get grants to do any of these things that we've not already assumed grants for.
And so to speak to that a little more, Honorable Mayor, City Council, there are other capital projects as well that are not included in our capital improvement plan, such as the SCADA system. There are so many capital improvement projects that are not included in our currently, if our SCADA system, if someone were to turn off effectively the power to all those different facilities that are involved with that, we're not sure if our PLCs will restart, and we'll be flying in the blind. It's been where now we've had to fire them up 5 or 6 times in a half-hour period to try and get them start up, and we're lucky that we even have a SCADA system right now. So in that, we have a number of capital improvement projects that are not included on our capital improvement plan that were submitted to Carl for the rate study.
Mayor, Austin, it's my understanding on the SCADA system, I don't know if I'm hoping we'll be successful, but we're going out for a grant on the SCADA system as we speak.
Yes, we are looking for the grant, and we're approaching that at this time. We're hoping to do approximately $800,000 in SCADA, but there are some potential pitfalls we're trying to work through right now. So it's not 100% certainty that we will be getting those funds at this time.
So you want us to be sure that we have a catch-all or something there that we could fall back on if we're not successful or something? Okay, thank you.
Carl, I had one question also, and that is, in these forecasts of expenses and stuff, I believe that our water treatment plant is going to have to be replaced in sometime in the future, obviously, but sooner than later is my belief. Are those costs figured into these increases?
Now, you're not talking about the river water treatment plant.
No, I'm talking about the water treatment plant itself.
That is not included in the model, no.
Okay, thank you.
So if, for example, that were to happen in the next 10 years, my modeling is looking at the next 10 years. If that were to be needed in the next 10 years, then that would just drastically, again, change your rates picture. You're just going to need some revenue to be able to pay that, too. So what it kind of boils down to is what we're looking at right now are a set of assumptions of costs, how you'll pay for them, and those sorts of things. That might be your best case scenario right now. If that new treatment plant does come due in the next 10 years, yeah, it's going to cost some more money.
All right, thank you. Councilman Martinez?
Now, unless you all have any more questions for me, I want to jump back.
We had Councilman
and do
Carl?
a segue back to staff, because they have some other things that they need to cover too.
Carl? Councilman Weisenberg, or Councilman Martinez has some questions.
I guess my question is, excuse me, I guess my question is that it's not really a question, it's just, you're talking about doubling. We're going $15 more if we pass this tonight, if we had to do the treatment plant, if we had to do a new treatment plant, which it was my understanding they were talking around $40 million to get a new treatment plant, is that good, or could be higher, is that gonna, that would again double the amount that would be asking for, is that correct?
I don't know that we can say that you're gonna end up, if you have to build a $40 million treatment plant, I have no doubt that Rollins, through its rates, is gonna have to come up with part of that.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is you're talking,
Big number, and that would, if it was all debt service, that would just blow your expenses out of the water. And that is the kind of thing the grant programs are for, to make sure that your rates stay affordable. If you had to do that sort of thing to your rates, they would become very unaffordable, and that's just not what grants are about.
And
They're about keeping your rates.
that's true, but what I'm saying is we're talking $20 million right now. And if we, for some reason, had a problem with that treatment plan and we had to redo that, you're talking adding another 40 million on top of that.
If I may.
I just can't see where the people in this community could afford the water rates.
And if I may speak, what I'd like to say is that we have an opportunity right now that if we make these rate changes and we capture this capital plan and we actually follow through on these projects, that it'll save us from having to get a new water treatment plant. The infrastructure that we have for the water treatment plant does not need to be replaced. But if we end up in a situation where we go to low water pressure, again, like we did in March, we are on the intended use plan with the state of Wyoming, where we may be required to put in the new $45 million water treatment plant. So by effectively approving this capital improvement plan, you're preventing future rates from going up substantially.
Okay, the last thing that I want to make sure I cover, and really this is just a segue back to staff so they can present some other information. You recall that in the narrative report that I gave you, and then the final report, and I'm looking at the final report here, there were tables A and B. They were the recommended system development fees and minimum charge and unit charges for different meter sizes in town and out of town. You have almost no out of town customers, so I won't waste time talking about those. The in-town ones are the critical ones because of numbers. So table A is where I recommend, or recommended to you, you go to with rates so you can pay all these expenses and do it on a cost to serve basis. Now these are only some of your rates and fees. You have some other rates and fees, cap-on fee, late payment fee, reconnection after non-payment, things like that. Those are things that city staff were really in a better position to calculate than me because they needed to look at costs of basically staff doing things to enable stuff. So I've got a set of rates. Those have been incorporated in city staff's recommendation for new rates, but they've got some other things they want to cover too. So Sean, I don't know who you want to go ahead and cover those sorts of things, but unless we have some other questions on the basic rates, I'll turn it over to you all.
One more question from Councilman Councilman Martinez.
The question that I have, as this being calculated, is that calculating the town of Sinclair? Or are you just talking about the town of Rollins?
Yeah, you all sell water to Sinclair by contract, and it includes rates to Sinclair.
Okay. All righty.
Councilman Weisenberg.
So at the current rates now, what is the rates for the town of Sinclair? Just for the minimum charge. I understand the charge of $3, but there's nothing on the table 1 for rates showing any charge for the town of Sinclair.
The contract with Sinclair says that you do not charge them a minimum charge. So I set the minimum charge for town of Sinclair at 0, and then their unit charge would be $209 per thousand.
So they,
And that also is governed by where the unit charge goes. So the Sinclair, by contract, is to be charged for unit charge fees 60% of what the in-town unit charge rate is.
so it's 60% usage fee.
We just bill the town of Sinclair directly, not each of their users.
That's right.
And then they build their own.
And then they bill their own, correct?
Thank you.
So we just bill the usage to Sinclair at a 60% rate, not even the full $3 is 60% of the $3.
And that was the contract agreed on in 2002? 3.
Because they probably mark it up because they have a water
Yeah.
system to maintain too and such like that.
I would question if some water rights stuff came in with that as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Is
we
it-
got
Then
some.
they send some rights over. that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be the flip side to that as well.
We didn't pay for the water rights,
One
yeah,
and usage of another.
right.
Any more questions? Okay, I guess, which one of the staff wants to go?
They're Rochambeauing for it now.
Great. Thank you very much, Carl, for all the hard work that you've done. And it's just been a real blessing to have you help the city in this endeavor with the water rate study.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate that, and I actually really enjoy working with you guys, and I'll tell you what, council, your staff has been great to work with. They've just really been fantastic.
Okay. All right. So there are a few things I'd like to go over. And so the first being the Glen edition. So we're looking at doing, it's actually a fixed rate of $57, as you'll see in the resolution. And so that $57, we backed into that number based on usage and using the $3.48 per 1,000 gallons, and also the base rate fee that Carl proposed in this. So even though we don't have meters, on a utilitarian perspective, one that takes all things into consideration, we're charging the whole $57 per customer. So that is something that we've done, and until we can get meters put in place for each of the customers, and that's what we're going to have to do. And right now, yes, sir.
One of the things that got brought up was that the groundwater down there is, when you bury a meter, it doesn't last very long because it's in really nasty groundwater. So
Alkaline.
I don't know, there's gonna have to be some alternative thing if we go that way,
Sounds good.
just to let you know. That's what the people down there have told me. I have one other question about these pipe sizes.
Yes, sir.
Who do we have that uses a 10-inch pipe? Anybody?
I don't believe at this time.
What are
but
the numbers there, like per pipe size? Do you have that?
I don't have those numbers on me right now. I know that Carl has those that he used to build that. We do have some users. I believe the penitentiary is a 6.
Penitentiary is the big one. That might be the 10.
We might have a 10-inch line with the pen. So it's something that is.
Truck stops, what do they use?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, the West End property that we're looking at, and other properties, other commercial properties that may or may not be, are a 2-inch or a 3, depending on the size and their sprinkler system and things
So
like
it's
that.
pretty uncommon to go over 2-inch.
In most commercial applications.
Motels?
Yeah, motels.
Motels, I believe they have a.
They're either 2-inch or anywhere between 1 inch to 2 inch, inch and a half, depends on the size of the hotel that they're using the water for.
But not up to 3 and 4.
And I would
Okay,
think that
just
would be
didn't
more
know.
an industrial application towards those larger sizes. So
Councilman Weissenberg, you have a question?
Yeah, is there any residential, because I know we're very ununiform here, that might have anything up to a 1 inch? Any residentials?
There are some residentials that do have 1 inch. Those are the ones that usually have like sprinkler systems tied into their water line if they don't have it, just the sprinkler system on its own meter. There's residentials that have 3/4 inch line into the house and then a 1 inch line for their sprinkler system, which is separate.
Should be. I mean, every fire suppression system should not be able to be turned off by a resident. It should be clearly that way in any business or resident. You should not be able to have that
Sprinkler
turned
system,
off.
we're talking about like irrigation system, not necessarily fire suppression.
It's not fire, it's just sprinklers.
Yeah, those are just
So-
the ones that have their own sprinkler system, which is metered by itself.
That's where I got.
Councilman Martinez?
I just want to mention that I think when you put these meters in, it's going to save some of the corral owners a few dollars, because you have some that just have one corral, and then you have some that have 3 or 4. So the ones that have 3 or 4 are going to be paying more than the one that just has one. That's if we put the meters in. The other thing that
Yeah, and I'd actually like to speak to that a little bit. First of all, when it comes to meter sizes, I do have a meter inventory that's in the modeling, and 5/8 inch meters, about 3,200, and 3/4 inch a few. Is a few more, 1 inch, and you can see, and let me make sure that you're seeing the screen that I'm showing. Do you see a thing that says in city and 5/8 and 3/4 on the
Yes.
left-hand side?
Yes.
Okay, so as we run down or run up in size of meters, 66 2-inch meters, 15 3s, 15 4s, 4 6-inch meters, and then I have that you had 1 10-inch meter. I don't know who these meters belong to, but that's what your inventory worked out to.
Okay, thank you.
the other question is how
And
we.
as to the, excuse me, as to the Glen edition and their rates, once you meter and you start charging people based on their meter use, what they're going to find is approximately half, and actually mathematically it's going to be a little bit more than half of the customers would find out that their use is less than the average in Glen Edition.
That's right.
So, at whatever rates they were paying at the time when they become meters, their bills would end up going down. And then those who are using the most volume, their bills would go up. And that is right that it happened like that, because if someone uses more volume, they ought to pay a higher bill for it.
The only other thing I have is that how do we control water usage? I mean, what would keep me from taking a small truck with a tank on it and loading it full of water if it's just going through 1 meter?
nothing.
Yeah, if you're talking about pulling into Glen Edition and just hauling off
Well,
the water.
a good example is that here a couple of years ago, I was driving by there because I took my grandkids to see the animals, and they had a bathtub sitting there. The water was running in the bathtub, running out, and running to the creek. I mean, there's a lot of wasted water there, and we have no way to control how much they're using unless we put those meters in.
I would expect that there is a big problem with water waste there, because no individual has very much price reason to watch how they use water, because they're only one of 60 customers in the area. So they have a relatively small effect on the whole. And if they use a bunch of water, they don't pay any more. They're just paying the average bill that everybody else pays. So setting rates that are fairly structured, that's the real value of metering use. There are a few other good things about that, but having people pay for what it is they use, that's the real value of metering. And that especially helps the low volume customers. And low volume customers are often low volume because they're trying to pinch pennies. They're trying to hold back on use so they don't run up their bill.
Okay. Councilman Weisenberg?
So in your years of doing,
They had a real cheap agriculture rate, and then it was more expensive for residential folks.
so what's your average that you've seen in that side of things for a usage fee and for the water usage rate and the meter rate?
I can't really speak to that one. I don't have that many that I could average, and I haven't had any with ag taps in the last couple of years or so. But my general recommendation stays the same. It doesn't matter who or what is using the water on the other side of the meter. The important thing is that they're metered, and whatever size meter they have, they pay an appropriate minimum charge for that, and then they pay the same unit charges that everybody else would pay. So if somebody wants to order 100 cattle, they're going to pay whatever the total rate is for the water and for the meter that serves them.
I had a corral for about 3 years. I didn't have any animals, but I had a water bill. And it's just part of the game down there. You know, for now, I think we need to fix it, but there are some inherent problems with fixing that. Councilman Smith?
Carl, I have a question for you. You're asking us to raise our rates to $29.48 and then the per 1,000 gallons to 3.48. I'm wondering how this compares to other cities and towns in Wyoming. And I preface this because my sister sent her bill from Grable, and they pay a base rate of $30, and then they get so many gallons in that, and then it goes up. Her bill is usually about $35 to $40 if she's watering the lawn. And when you add the sewer and all the other garbage and everything else in it, it's somewhere from $90 to $100 a month. So do you know, I asked the staff to do some surveys for me, and I don't know if they have, but I'd ask you first, Carl, and then I would ask staff if they've gotten us some other like community information.
I asked Sean to look into it also and have somebody look into that for us. Did that get passed on or did it get done?
Yes, so some discussion was had. Sean? Yes, Sean, go ahead, please.
Myra did do a little research on that, if Myra would like to speak to that a little bit.
Yes, let me pull it up really fast.
And while she's pulling it up, I'd like to quickly mention too that every municipality has different challenges for their infrastructure. There are not many that have a 28-mile transmission line and spring boxes. There are many that have wells that take care of their infrastructure needs, their supply needs. And so we have a unique situation, but when you look at every municipality is unique in its situation. They all have their own challenges. So there are different costs, like for instance, freezing a wellhead. You know, you have to maintain and go in and do work sometimes, and that's a cost, and some of those places have that. So every municipality has its own difficulties. Myra, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, so I did the research I could find online. So I did look at Grable, Wyoming. Their bill would be very similar total to ours if we pass the increase as proposed, within like 50 cents. They do have some different rates, like that includes their mosquito spraying versus they don't have a recycling center. But the rate came out very, very close with their average rate according to their website and our estimated average rate according to the study if it's passed. Saratoga, the base rate is generally higher, because this also varies by tap size. There's a lot of factors that make this it's not a simple, it's exactly apples to oranges. And the water usage rate was a little bit lower. I did find it on an ordinance that said they were going to raise it every year, and it was a couple years old, so those might have gone up already from then. Riverton.
What were they?
Yeah.
Generally,
our charges were very much in line. There was a little fluctuation. I'd find like base rates that were $6 lower or $6 higher, but then it included some water. But generally, I would say it was very competitive and in line with
25 to 30?
From who?
25 to 30 for Saratoga?
What is their base rate?
Oh, what is their base? I will click on this link I sent.
Sorry about that.
And very quickly, too, while she's pulling that up, I'd like to discuss which size meters we have in service in the city, specifically which businesses. So we have the cemetery has a 6-inch water line. The soccer fields have a 6-inch water line. I'm not going to go through each of these. I'm just cherry picking as I go. We have the Airport Road Fire Service line. The fairgrounds are a 4-inch line. The fuel station and Train Master, that's a 4-inch line. I would assume that's UPRR. We have the new jail, which is at a 4-inch line. The hospital building is on a 4-inch line. The high school soccer field is on a 3-inch line. So you can go through. We have all this information on our system that are available for you to see anytime you want to have that information.
Well, just because it's a 4-inch line or a 6-inch line does not mean that they got a 4-inch tap or a 6-inch tap.
Well, they should. And so in that, it's effectively where we are providing that volume on demand, that cost to make that volume on demand as they need.
So I guess I'm asking Michael back here because he's part of the water, sorry, but you don't generally have a 6-inch tap on a 6-inch line servicing a business, correct?
If it has a 6-inch meter, it's
a meter, not.
But if the meter is a 6-inch, it's off of a 6-inch tap. If the meter is usually the same size as the tap on the main. So if it's a 4-inch line, the carbon building has a 3-inch meter in there. It's going to have a 3-inch tap.
Correct, but what I'm saying is like a service line, even through a residential area, might be a 4-inch, but I might have a 3/4 inch.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
The main itself may be a different size, depending on the area and the flow and all of that. But the tap size that comes off of that main may be smaller than that size, but the meter is going to be based off of what that tap size is.
So when you're speaking of these numbers then, are you speaking of the actual tap size or the mains?
Well, I'm speaking of the tap size and the meter size.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was just confused. It sounded like you were just speaking of the mains going through there.
Oh, my apologies.
Myra?
So for the town of Saratoga, their base rate for 5/8, 3/4, and 1-inch is $30 a month. But then it does increase quicker than ours. Do you mean to go through all of their base rates or?
$30 is fine with me.
Like the 4-inch is $600. So they do go up quite a bit higher for their base rates in the larger meter size. And then I also did review Riverton and Lander, and it also seemed comparable.
And then also there's
range.
a previous question, Linda, that you had about the loan service period
Yes,
for the USDA.
Yes.
That is 40 years
40.
at a 2.25%.
Well, just like our 1977, we're still paying on that, and we now have to replace it, so 40 years is a long time. I don't know what else we're gonna do about it.
If we went to a 20-year WWDC loan, it would probably double our cost in terms of our yearly repayment of those. So
We can always pay it off earlier if we have the revenue.
yeah, yep.
Or if we get more grants, we can lessen the debt load. Okay.
Were you done, Myra?
I could go into more detail if council
Well,
wanted, but
Just the base rates or whatever, I just wanted to make sure. I have Town of Elk Mountain here, and it looks to me like theirs is $34 base. And then I have Guernsey's here, just because I have people that are from there, and it looks like their base rate is $30, and then additional for water usage. So they must have had the same guy do the rate study.
It wasn't.
Are those, just a quick question with those, or is there a minimum gallon usage that they get at those rates?
You know, I don't know. Now, I do know I called folks in Bags and Dixon both, and their rates are considerably higher, but they get X number of gallons, and one of them was $65 a month, but they get 30,000 gallons. But they had to get that much just to be, they have 70 taps to pay for a whole water treatment plant, so that's, you know, the economy of scale helps those folks.
Yeah.
I was surprised Cheyenne was as high as they were, but.
There's a lot to maintain too.
Well, I would, yeah. Digging a hole there would be a little trickier than here, maybe, in the middle of Lincoln Way.
Yeah.
So Riverton is in that $30 range.
for homes, the base rate is about $8 cheaper for Riverton, so that'd be about 22. Yeah, 21.95, and then like their 4 inches, 131.
Thank you very much, Myra.
All right, back to you, sir.
Okay, so effectively, the last thing that I would like to discuss is just the future of our infrastructure. The long-term plan is if we can pass these rates as presented today, if the city council, if it's your pleasure to pass at these rates that are presented, it will effectively open an avenue to future grants and to future loans that we can obtain. If we do not do this, we will still be able to get loans in the future. However, we will likely not be able to get the grants that we're pursuing.
Well, I know there's talk about this would be quite a burden on the citizens. But boy, they've had a burden this last year, and we've had several businesses barely making it because of the problems. Landscaping and lawn mowing type services that are just hurting for certain, and I really feel for those folks. I have lost my entire west yard, and it's probably, if you had to go pay somebody to put sod down, it's probably 10 grand. Our town looks like heck. Economic development is shot in the foot. And I'm telling you, I want to do everything I can do to make sure this town doesn't go through that ever again. We have had water. I moved here in 1978, and when we took showers, it smelled like frog water.
Yeah.
We would actually go buy water at the store and dump it on each other so we didn't have to sleep with a frog. You know what I mean? And it almost made me move. I couldn't take it, but then several improvements. You know, the city did a lot of improvements, and it got better and better and better. And now we're faced with a pretty big jump here, but I think we need to do it, and that's my piece. Councilman Martinez.
You know, I understand the raise, and I understand what it'll do for this community. But I live in an area in a ward where I walked around the last 2 days talking to them, and when you're set with a fixed income of $1,800 or $2,200 a month, they're not like a person working out at the refinery or on the railroad where they have money coming in. Whenever we take a chunk of their money, their income goes down. And I realize that they have to have water to live. So what we're actually telling these people is that, okay, we're gonna double your rate, but you're gonna have to take cuts on your groceries and your things that you live, your everyday living. So that makes it real hard on me, and I'm willing to compromise. I'm willing to go to a $21 instead of $29. But I find that the amount is way too much for these people to handle.
Councilman Smith?
This is a very painful decision for a lot of folks. I think 38% of our community is low income or moderate or to low. But we have the big picture here. This is the one time in 50 years that we can do something monumental to change the future of this community. We can't do anything in economic development without a good water structure. We can't ask our citizens again to sacrifice the way we did this year. We can't do it. It's not moral in my mind. I don't like raising rates, but it's $20 to most people. And I think while it's a burden, I think they'll say to us, do it because it's our future, that we have to have water. And I think we won't have another opportunity to get ARPA funds, CDBG block funds. It's also assured by rural development that if we pass rates, there was plenty of money out there that we can tap into. The governor is very supportive if we raise rates. And I can tell you right now, with the competitiveness of the ARPA funds, 200 and some grants, we would not get anything if we don't do something. So I look at this as it's painful for all of us, but it's been painful for the last year, and I think we need to look to the future and do something that's permanent.
We've got 10 minutes before we have to start our meeting. Does anybody have anything that's real important? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to share, once we're on the topic, staff did look into some options for assistance for people who are in the fixed incomes. So there's WyoHelp, and that is a relatively new organization in town, and they are income-based, and they do provide a lot of assistance, and not just bills, but lots of different needs for our community. The Salvation Army, that's not income-based. You just say you need help, and they do up to $250 a year. And then also we found the Wyoming Homeowner Assistance Fund program. So obviously that wouldn't be for renters, but it does appear that that would help if you're owning your own home. So just wanted to share that with the public and council.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to address timing, Honorable Council. In terms of making a decision, they're putting together the books for SLIB for looking at the ARPA grants as we speak. And to get that information in there, our timing is very important. It's very critical that something happened tonight.
This sucks.
All right, so I
hate
will
to say it.
recess this workshop and we'll get ready for the meeting.
It is like
Thank you.
biggest catch-22 you could ever
We're gonna
have.
stay live with sound.
Let's wrap it and put it on the citizens like that.
Well, who should pay for it, Chris?
We have to
I
do
take that as a portion. She's telling me to make
or they don't give us anything. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong is they put it in catch-22.
Who should pay for it?
I'm not saying they should. I'm saying the fact of the matter that we're in catch-22 because SLIB says that we ain't gonna give you nothing.
People who drive through our town next year will notice the difference.
I guarantee it won't be next year.
Yeah.
How are you?
They're already can't do work. They don't know what it is.
I'm serious, because I'm on here, and I brought another shirt. I can do something.
Fine, thank you.
So in that, you should see overall rate increase. Yeah, there may be some discrepancy in that table. Well, and it should be because they're relatively speaking, it's the base rate. And that's what you're saying. It's like, it's the base rate. And the base rate of 4,000 gallons. To answer our general question, general, then if you were 348, more water than you use, or less is enough. And so that's why it goes from $10 to 348 per 1,000 gallons.
Actually, I tell you what. I apologize. Seeing where you're coming from. So this is the new rate for them, right? That's modeled for that bill. Then they still have 343 per 1,000. I just figured it out.
Okay.
I answered my own question just by hearing what you were saying.
Okay, all right, yeah, because it's just the way it's worded.
Yeah.
So,
You know, that's why you got to look for the poor guy that's lying next to him. Here, you know, it's like, yes, I'm going to need to show her like compliance, okay?
well, I really do. Yeah, absolutely. And so,
Oh, I agree with that. 100%.
I know one person speaking to you, I sitting next to you. I'll see you soon.
Rate increase of
I had to see my son play football, that's why I was late.
What's that?
I was watching my son play football, that's why I was late.
That's hard, isn't it? I know what you mean. I had my kids play football. And
I'd have to leave it halfway through the day.
Yeah. I was like, I've already seen a lot of this one.
Yeah, yeah.
They weren't doing so well, so I left it. Third quarter.
Who does he play for?
He plays for Louis.
For who?
Louis Espinoza.
Oh, for the
Yeah, Steelers.
Steelers. My boy played for the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Louis played for the Steelers, same age. And matter of fact, they're still real close friends. They fly to a lot of the Steeler games. They're flying out October 8th. They're headed to New York, to Buffalo to watch Josh Allen.
Local admin rights create a lot of service desk tickets. When you
Louis is such a good guy.
Yeah.
Garrett's his assistant coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been doing it a long time.
He has. Did you hear about
Isaiah? Yeah. I got a call right away. I didn't know what was going on, but I went by the place and Isaiah's dad was there and he waved at me and I waved at him. I didn't know what was going on. Then I came home, then I got a call, and then I'm sitting out on the porch, and every time there was a bunch of cars that would stop and hug the little one. He was maybe 5, 6 years old, and then the little girl. People were hugging him, and I said, there's something, I didn't know they were related. And I said, God, there's something wrong there. So then the next morning I woke up and a guy was trying to park his truck. And I said, well, you can use my driveway if you like. And I said, what's going on? He goes, well, you know Isaiah? And I said, yeah, he passed away. He said, well, those are his kids. Yeah. That was, and the little boy came up to me and told me my dad died. That was awful. That was awful. Yeah.
So sad. I went to school.
They get themselves in. I don't know what took place. I don't know what the situation was about. I've dealt with them before, and they call my house about other things that have taken place. And I've talked to him a lot. I actually hire him to help me handyman. They get themselves in their positions, and I don't know why they can't pull away from it. I don't know. I understood he was a diabetic, and I was taking medication. It was the medication for the diabetes, or other medication. I don't know. Well, he was alive. The girl, the daughter, found him alive. He was laying face down, and flipped him over and called it 9.
I'm gonna bring the file.
Sit there and sugar. So it's a Star Trek headphone holder?
Yeah, that's right.
She's just put your headphones over the top and then it just sits like yeah, so like
35? I think.
They got one more. They lost one.
David, yeah.
Yeah, they lost the oldest, and then they had another one in the middle.
So that was the picture on the website that downloaded.
He's in the pen.
He wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, he was. Oh, okay. I didn't know him.
I did.
The only reason
That guy
I
right
knew
there,
Isaiah
I
is
just got him on
that somebody sent him to me.
This guy installs your water.
He's asking for having
That half part one, yeah. He's done.
That's awesome.
Give him little jobs and stuff.
Oh, you got it too?
You put the heat?
Man, I'm dying. Is it, are you, like, come, just turn the heater on for you, I'll straight the face. I'm serious, I was very.
I felt it too on my back.
Well, you guys can turn it off. I have this on.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, I guess, well, he brought one for I guess, Terry. So switch
If you want.
Yeah, then you can have it. DeBari will share the air.
Yeah, you can do it. Okay. You can just
do it. And then I don't have to get all hot and uncomfortable.
Sweat all over. You just shove that over there. You shove my papers in the drawer.
Yeah.
How's it helping him if it's over there?
Because I'm getting away from it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Terry.
Oh, well, I guess I don't know.
I know I'm catching it right in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch over waters.
Oh, thanks. Is that gonna bug you?
Can't handle that, huh?
How am I gonna know who wrote it?
Well, we have our own computers.
Well, I mean, like when you say like, yeah, no, I'm correct.
He's hot and I'm cold.
Yeah. And Lou did bring in a heater, right?
That's why I'm getting away from it. I'm looking for some draft.
He's gonna open the window with the heater.
If I can figure this computer out.
My hands are cold.
My goodness. Good thing this is only a couple of days.
I don't think it matters.
Like it's just supposed to be kind of chilly.
She was handing it out.
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
Smart. I see.
Just happen to take it into
All right, is everybody ready? I will call this meeting to order at 7:34. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Wycombe,
Here.
Vice Mayor Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Durst,
Here.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Weisenberg,
here.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Thank you. Next thing is to approve the agenda. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the September 20th, 2022 City Council agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the September 20th, 2022 City Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Next thing on our agenda is a public hearing. I will open a public hearing at this time to listen to anybody that would like to speak to amending the fees.
We got to approve the September 6th meeting.
Minutes.
Oh,
Jump one.
moving back.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion. Councilman Martinez.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th, 2022, regular council meeting, if there's no corrections or additions.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the City Council regular minute meetings of September 6th, 2022 as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a public hearing. At this time, I'll open a public hearing at 7:37. to listen to anybody that would like to speak to the resolution amending fees, finance, water, sewer, and utilities, Appendix E, and amending fees, Public Works, Appendix 1. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name and come to the podium and tell us what you'd like to tell us.
Yeah, my name is Leslie Schmidt. Again, I'd like to say we've floated along on good rates for a long time, but the day of reckoning has come that you've got to do something. If the past city council and mayor and the city manager would have followed up with what was going on out there, we should have probably been raised $1 or $2, $3 a year or a month on our water bill all along. But we've reaped the good price for a long time, and the day of reckoning has come. So much for that. My main thing is I'd like to, on my water bill, if we get a raise, I would like to have it shown what our base amount is, and then what we pay for our extra gallonage used, and separate it out. Kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with your gas bill. They show a base rate, then they show how much gas you used and how much it is, and how many taxes are on there. I would like to see that on our city water bill. That way you got an idea of what at least you're using. Right? I know they put down a total use, but you don't know what your base rate is, and you don't know exactly what you're being paid for over your base rate. So I'd like to see a little addition on our bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Is there anybody else?
Tanya Lumen. I do agree with him that could have been avoided, should have been avoided, wasn't avoided. So now we're in a pickle. I think the council was very wise with the information to pull together the numbers to have a very fair rate and to show where that increase was going. Strongly suggest that for the future, that not only our water system be well maintained and verified that it's maintained, and that we have procedures in place when there is a water break or when something breaks down, how we're going to handle those things in the future. And that the money for the water goes to the water and the water only. And if we have a surplus, it not be used for anything else but for the water. And if the surplus is enough, then you can bring the rates down. But it has to be watched. Because if it's not, we'll be back in the same pickle we were 10, 15 years ago.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And the next thing on our agenda is a public hearing for the ordinance to amend Title VI, Animals, to clarify responsibilities and consequences associated with nuisance or vicious animals. Is there anybody here during this public hearing that would like to speak to this? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and move to public comment. Public comment is a time that is reserved by resolution number 2C-96, meaning in 1996 is when it was started. It sets a time limit for public comment for 5 minutes under the citizens participation part of the agenda. that provision, 5 minutes may be limited or increased at the request of a member or public or any member, subject to a vote of council. And let me also mention that if you have a subject that is going to exceed 5 minutes and you know that, please just get on the agenda. That's your best way to ensure you can have all the time you want. Is there anybody here that would like to speak during this time? Please come up and state your name and tell us what you got to say.
I'm just gonna raise this a little bit. Sorry about that. We just want to make sure we didn't hear you.
My name's Aiden. I'm here to talk about one of the council members I feel like was being biased towards sanitation. So there was a phone call with Mr. Weisenberg. He has our trash service, so I work for Dirty Words, so I work for my mom. There was a phone call with him on, I believe it was July 7th, that he called to council service. He wasn't upset about services or anything like that, but he called to council because of what Patrick had put on Facebook about the op-ed. And he explicitly stated that that is why he wanted to cancel. So I would like for him not to be in any, I don't know, discussion about sanitation going forward.
We're not going to respond. Thank you. Anybody else have anything for us? All right, moving on. The next thing on our agenda is the Continental Divide Trail Community Proclamation. And normally I have a proclamation to read and I don't have one.
It is on board docs. I did not print it though. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Let me see if I can find it.
It says CDT 2022.
Okay.
It's an attachment.
All right. So, the City of Rollins, Wyoming Proclamation. Whereas the Continental Divide Trail, recognized as the King of Trails, stretches 3,100 miles along the backbone of America and provides access to some of the most wild and scenic places left in the world. And whereas the Continental Divide Trail passes through the City of Rollins, and whereas the City of Rollins recognizes the City of Rollins provides important access and resources along the Continental Divide Trail for nearby residents, thousands of regional visitors and long-distance hikers. And whereas the City of Rollins has been designated as a Continental Divide Trail Gateway community since 2016, and whereas the City of Rollins Continental Divide Trail Coalition and community partners have installed signs recognizing our location along the trail at all entrances of our city. And whereas Rollins is the first community to paint blazes on the sidewalk where Continental Divide Trail passes through, and whereas the Rollins Community Ambassadors have hosted a Leave No Trace seminar, Red Mountain Section Day Hike, and a Bike the CDT in Rollins in 2022. Therefore, the City of Rollins does hereby urge all citizens, all City of Rollins residents to support the trail through programs, activities, and hospitality for its visitors. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Rollins, Wyoming, to be affied this 20th day of September 2022. City of Rollins, Terry L. Wycombe, Mayor.
And I invited some of our CDT volunteers to come. So we have Emily Haver, she's one of our ambassadors. Megan McComas, another ambassador, and then Janita Calton is one of the members on the committee. And they've done a lot over time, and especially this year, I think we've really made a presence physically in our community. I don't know if you guys want to add anything.
Thank you.
But thank you guys for your work.
Come hike with us.
Thank you. We do appreciate your work. All right. Next thing on our agenda is the Carbon County Visitors Council report, and I will have whoever come up.
Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you for inviting me to come tonight. I'm Leslie Jefferson, the CEO of Carbon County Visitors Council. That is your local lodging tax joint powers board. So the city of Rollins is a governing body, one of the nine governing bodies for the Visitors Council. We have Rollins, Carbon County Commissioners, the towns of Hannah, Elk Mountain, Medicine Bow, Saratoga, Encampment, Riverside, and Little Snake River, which is actually Bags, but they kind of encompass them all. The lodging tax has been in place since 1987. It's a 2% lodging tax. And you appoint people, and I'll introduce you. Mary Pat is here tonight. She is your representative. Megan McComas is actually with the Visitors Council. She has been hired as of May 19th. She is our sales and event marketing coordinator. So that's your lodging tax dollars at work. I'm just gonna go, did you get the PowerPoint? Sorry.
Did you email it? Or? Okay.
From Megan, sorry.
We can switch me. Yes, thank you.
So I made a little PowerPoint for those that are watching. So sorry. So it's can't come from marketing or Megan.
My apologies.
Well, I'll just keep talking. Yeah. What the lodging tax is, it's actually a sales tax that goes on top of any paid overnight stays in hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, guest ranches, resorts, and other lodging establishments. The tax is normally paid by visitors and travelers that stay in Carbon County lodging tax establishments. Question always comes up, does Airbnb count? Yes. In 2017, prior to the eclipse, Airbnb and VRBO, let me slow down. They came to an agreement to charge sales tax on anything that goes through those specifically. So if it's Airbnb, sales tax goes right on top of it. Not only the lodging tax, but our statewide tax and our county taxes, the 5th and 6th penny. Carbon County residents don't normally pay the tax. I do know that there are some people that go to the resort and spend the weekend or go for fun things. So yes, those are taxable. In Wyoming, we don't have any kind of leeway to forgive those taxes to people that live in the county. The only one catch there is on the lodging tax and sales tax itself, any lodger that stays over 30 days, so any of our kind of short-term but longer-term contractors, they are not paying any lodging tax, just so you're aware of, nor are they paying any sales tax on their lodging. But they are gaining revenue for those hoteliers, as well as spending money for eating, traveling, having fun, that kind of thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't mean to butt in, but
that's okay.
If they stay 35 days, do they have to pay for the first 30?
Oh.
Okay.
No. Any other questions? So how does the lodging tax help residents? Well, employment. Last year, hospitality companies employed over 1,580 residents that worked. Sometimes there are part-time. We have a lot of seasonal help that comes in for part of our for part of our lodging, as well as we have some students that come over from, I think we have Jamaicans and Nigerians this year. They're actually working, not only are they working in hotels, but they're kind of working at Taco Bell and McDonald's too. So we have a lot of influx with that. Spending, travelers in Carbon County spent over $227.6 million last year, which created $14.1 million in government taxes, which accounted for our county for 30.4% of the tax that's coming in. So it does help with our community. We also sponsored, or we gave grants for 44 events, helping 33 organizations and 11 communities. We gave back through our grants as well as distributions, monetary distributions to our to our municipalities. Any municipality that has a lodging establishment does receive 10% back of that gross earnings each month. So CCVC's mission is to promote events, tourism, and the hospitality industry in Carbon County. We've been doing that since 1987, and we will continue to do that.
And we're almost.
Theoretically, okay. Outdoor adventure. Oh, sorry. Back up. So what we really do is promote and market Carbon County as a destination throughout the year. We have a lot of outdoor sports. We focus on the outdoor things to do. So there's biking, camping, fishing, hiking, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, soaking in the hot springs, and much more. We also promote our local events and culture. So there's 5K runs, there's a gravel road race, wood choppers jamboree, all of our rodeos, weekly concerts, 4th of July celebrations, annual rodeos, Bull Fest, cowboy poetry, Mountain Man Rendezvous, King Cole Day, just to name a few. What else we promote is unique stays. I'll let her run through the pictures. You guys have to see the pictures. I don't know. Slideshow? Yes. Sorry.
How much money a year is your budget do you get with this Visitors Council?
So that's it. That's great. So when I came on in 2013, the revenue for the Visitors Council, the 2% local lodging tax, was grossing about $465,000. This year we actually went over $1 million. We're a little bit over $1 million for the 2% lodging tax.
Cool.
Yeah. So that means over $100,000 went back to those municipalities and the county. So that was pretty cool.
And it's from last year, right?
Yes, our revenue runs for fiscal year, so July 1 to June 30.
Okay. So
So it's kind of awkward because we don't run on a year, but our stats run on a calendar year, but our money runs on a fiscal year. So
that's not confusing at all.
No. So other things that we promote are unique stays. We have lodges, guest ranches, and resorts. I can tell you that people are extremely interested in the resorts. They have a lot of unique amenities. I also do a lot with the golf courses. I always praise the Rollins golf course because we have such a great course that brings in some people to play some golf and stay the night. We have fabulous tournaments there, and we have gun shooting. It's amazing how many people come in for the gun shooting tournaments that we have here in Rollins. There, the unique stays. So we have our attractions that I hit on most. One thing that I didn't tell you is that we go to travel trade shows. With the addition of Megan, things will slow down for me, and she will pick up, which is great. But we go to 4 travel trade shows. That means that there's bus tour operators, other travel agents. I go to domestic, so national, kind of Canada, as well as ours, and then international shows. So I go to 2 of each year. Well, that was before COVID. So everything went back into swing this last year, so it was quite busy. We have not picked up consumer shows again. We used to do international sportsman expos in Denver and Salt Lake City. and we have not picked those up again as yet. There's no true way to figure out our return on investment, and by far they are our most expensive shows. So, attractions, we have great attractions in Carbon County. We have our scenic drives, we have the hot pools, we have the Frontier Prison, we have 10 unique museums, and again, the golf courses and the shooting ranges. There's a little bit, go ahead. These are a few of our ads. We do ads online as well as print ads. You can see all of our ads on our Pinterest. Just look up Carbon County WY. Yep, that's it. I'm double checking with the marketing expert. So Carbon County WY, our website is wyomingcarboncounty.com. You'll find anything and everything about Carbon County, anything tourism friendly. We do have a calendar. We normally put in our calendar events that tourists would like to go to. So we don't have those regular meetings, like weekly meetings or weekly knitting or anything like that. We are specifically looking to grab the tourists. But we do invest a lot into videos. I'm going to play a couple of them. This is our newest video. Oops. Maybe not. By Trey Mullen. When we started working with Trey, he had a business out of Saratoga. His business is called One Real Media House. Unfortunately, he has moved to Steamboat Springs because his wife got transferred. But we still use Trey. Trey used to work for Brush Creek Ranch and did all of their filming and that kind of thing. He's very affordable. We haven't used him in any scripted videos. He has a project right now on the table that will be semi-scripted, but he does fabulous work, as you can see.
Is that with a drone?
It's in my purse.
Beautiful.
Excuse me.
Where's my house out there?
That's a video that we did in partnership with the Office of Tourism, the Wyoming Office of Tourism, and I'm not sure, but maybe our people that have the cinema in town have seen that. We run that in a lot of cinema houses or movie houses, trying to get people within Wyoming to come out and explore Carbon County, as well as people in Carbon County maybe getting out and exploring what they have in their backyard. So. We do have a couple of, I think at least 3 new videos that will launch in the spring. One on the northeastern side and Seminole and Miracle Mile, which is scripted. We have 2, I guess we have more than that. So we have both scenic drives, the Battle Pass Scenic Byway, as well as Snowy Range Scenic Byway will be scripted and hopefully out next spring. So next thing, that with the addition of Megan, we have launched a TikTok account. So if you want to show them one, that would be great.
And it's not going.
Uh-oh.
Just push escape on
Maybe not. Oh. So she's had a lot of fun with it.
All around you are spirits, child. They live in the earth, the water, the sky. If you listen, they will guide you. Listen.
Can you show them another one? So we've been flying into the 22nd century with the addition of Megan, and it's been awesome. Okay, thank you. That's good. So just as I end, the Carbon County local 2% tax is up for renewal. It is renewed every 4 years. I almost said every 2 years. Every 4 years. And again, it has been in Carbon County since 1987. And it'll be on the November 8th ballot. Do we have any questions?
The only question I would have is there any way or anything we can do to help you?
Gosh, that's a great question.
I mean, you really do a great job, and I
Thank you.
see your fingerprints all over the county, and if you can't think of an answer, and if there is something we can do to help you, don't be bashful, come tell us.
No, I really appreciate the addition of Mary Pat. We were missing somebody from Rollins for a couple of years, so it's been great. Mary Pat, oh, here she comes. She has something to say.
Since you asked.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We just moved the office to the old video store on Cedar Street. So it's much more accessible to everyone. But we have a very large sign there that still says video. And we had sent an email to the city asking if we could light it up, if that would be a nuisance to neighbors. And so we just need to find out. So we don't want to hire an electrician to do all that if we can't light it up. So yes, we could use your help in finding out if we are grandfathered in or what we can do with that sign.
Lou is probably who you would talk to. Myra will hook you up with him.
Thank you. I forgot that. Yes. So we did move. So we are not across the street anymore. We're at 105 East Cedar, which is the old video store. And the sign she's talking about hopefully is grandfathered in. So we can take out that video store sign and we can maybe put visitor center would be nice.
So they don't come in to buy videos.
Yes. And we are excited to be on the CDT trail. Do you have something?
I just want to suggest something. I served on the museum board for 6 years, and I'd like to see more advertisement on the museums that we have in our county. We have some beautiful museums. I had an opportunity to tour them all, and it'd be nice to see them up on the screen and show the inside of these museums and the work that these folks do with them, because most of it's volunteer work that for the museums.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I just want to give you a heads up. Cindy Luce, who is from Saratoga, she has VIP marketing, and she makes the Southern Wyoming guide. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but this next year she's working on a Carbon County Museums tour. So we're going to partner with her on that. So that'll be great. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for everything you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next thing on the agenda is council reports. Councilman Durst, Board of Adjustments.
There is a meeting on the 22nd. I not 100% of the time. I was going to see if Lou was out there to confirm it. I don't know if it's 5:30 or 6:30. Okay, at 5:30.
He's in the hall. But
okay, so Thursday at 5:30 there is a meeting.
Okay, thank you. Carbon County Council of Governments, that's myself. That was last week, and I didn't go. My schedule was screwed up with everything going on with me, but I have talked to Travis Moore, and I am getting information from him to distribute. Next thing on the agenda is DDA Main Street. Councilman Smith.
Yes, we had our regular DDA board meeting yesterday, and I'll just highlight some of the items that we went over. As you know, the DDA board voted to take over the Ferguson building, and we are in the process of going through the what we call the chain of title to make sure that we haven't missed anything in easements and things like that. And we're waiting now for the agreement from the county, and we're moving forward to be able to take over and acquire the Ferguson building. And in the background, we have folks that may come in and reuse, or I call it reuse, the building, so we're moving forward. Art Beat is October 7th, and so we, some of our volunteers will be working with that. So we're excited about having Art Beat downtown again. The Trick and Treat program is the 31st of August, and we'll be out giving candy and treats to everybody in the downtown area. The fiber and cable optics have been installed in what we call the hub, and the hub, as you know, is working with the University of Wyoming, and then Carmen County EDC and the chamber and several departments of the city. And I know I've missed somebody, but we've all come together as the hub, and so that's very popular and it's being used. The holiday update is we're starting on November 25th with what we call the Blue Plaid Friday, and we're working on other events for Winterfest. Then we're looking also at replacing, every year we have what we call the Main Street money that we give away during December for the holidays. We're looking at replacing that with a actual card, a gift card. It's easier to track. Businesses don't have to carry it on their books for a long time, so it'll make it a lot easier for us to continue that program in the downtown during the holidays. And then we have one more thing. We have started the Carbon County Startup Challenge, and we're working out all the details on that. But I have to tell you, we started working with area people who are interested in starting businesses, and we have a lot of interest. A lot of folks came in for the meeting on that, and so it's a pretty exciting time, and so we'll have some programs to help people get started in business. So that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Next thing on our agenda is Rollins Planning Commission. Councilman Weisenberg.
Yeah, we had a meeting on the 13th, discussed some line adjustments for some properties there. And then there's going to be a recommended change coming for a zone change on a property off of Washington Street, I believe is what it is. It'll be coming forward for a possible development of a RV park. So it's zoned residential, I believe, right now, and it will have to be rezoned to a C2.
Okay. Well, thank you. Next thing is Urban Systems Committee. Councilman Garner.
We have a meeting scheduled for November 14th at 1 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next thing on our agenda is reports and information, city manager, staff reports. I guess it'll be you, Tom, huh?
Okay. Honorable Mayor, City Council. I spoke with Sean. He is in Columbus, Ohio at the ICMA conference, and he just wanted to report that conference is going well, that it's he's learning a lot there, and that's kind of his report. He didn't have anything else to report. So.
Okay.
He did, I don't know if you noticed, he went off of Zoom to go on YouTube, but he did say we could call him if there was a need to. He's still here, just not on the Zoom setup.
Okay. Any staff reports at this time? All right, we'll go to the next thing. City attorney reports.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I've had a couple of contacts over the past couple of weeks, and I am requesting council direction as to how to move forward on these. One of the things that was brought to my attention was the TIPS program, which is the actually the alcohol server training program. It's required for all places that serve alcohol. Currently, our ordinance only allows for in-person training by our local officers. I have been asked whether or not we can change that to a local or online version, so long as it is a Wyoming-approved course. If that is the council's pleasure, I can make that change and bring it forward.
Vice Mayor Wells?
I was approached by a liquor store owner, and they said that this is a big hindrance because we only offer it so often, and then our officers can only provide it at certain times. So to me, it makes sense to have an online option.
Councilman Smith first.
My thought, I think that would be great too, but I would like some way to, I don't know if they give certificates or whatever to prove that they actually have finished everything.
Yes, there is a certificate established, and there is also a requirement that every 3 years they redo it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Weisenberg?
I was under the impression that they already were allowing and doing some of the online in the past. I mean, and I've seen that happen, so if they've allowed that in the past, we probably should.
Actually, what that was you have to have this training within 4 months of the date that you start, and business owners can either give an interim training or have it done online, but they are not officially tip certified according to our ordinance until they do it locally. So they do it online, but it's not official for our municipality.
So it's a big misunderstanding too through that industry, I'd imagine too, because I mean, I talked to several of them business owners, and I'd like to see it come forward as quick as we could get it.
I will work on that then, thank you.
That's right, I agree. Yeah.
Oh.
I was just making sure it was four.
Sorry. I've just got my blinders on. The next issue is that some citizens have come forward requesting that the council address possible liquor delivery as far as allowing retail liquor license owners to deliver within city limits. Currently, our ordinance neither allows nor disallows. It doesn't address it at all. We have talked to the city, we have talked to the state, we've talked to the Liquor License Bureau, and they leave it up to cities. So I'm asking here, would it be the city's pleasure that I draft up an ordinance regarding this?
Vice Mayor Wells, and then...
I also had a conversation with the same person. And I support it. I guess Casper does it, and they have a pretty good ordinance that we could echo pretty quickly. To me, whatever we can do to expand businesses, and it also, in my eyes, will help law enforcement because people can get alcohol delivered to their home and no longer have to go to the liquor store after they've been impaired. So I support it.
Councilman Weisenberg?
I was going to say the same. I'm in support of it. I know we're not a big city, but it happens all the time in big cities and through DoorDash or Instacart, stuff like that, apps that take place. So I would support that.
Agreed.
I will move forward with that. And those are the only two issues I had for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next thing is direction from City Council to the City Manager or City Attorney. Councilman Smith?
I received a letter from someone that I regard very highly, and this person lost his wife, and he goes to the cemetery, and the son helps him, and they've been working on keeping the weeds out of. They had a wonderful lawn there, now it's all weeds, so they're kind of discouraged. But in that letter, he points out that we have gophers, and so he asked me to go down and review, go through the cemetery, and I did. And what we have is 2 to 3 colonies of gophers, and they are in and around the headstones. We also have big holes, and I don't think those are just gophers, they're probably badgers. So what I would like to do is bring that back, attention back to Parks and Rec. I'm not an authority on gophers, but I know what we do at the farm, but we can't do that in the cemetery. So, but I don't want to poison any of them because that will get over to somebody's pets and we will lose pets. But there's other ways of eradicating them according to Google. And so I would urge that we address that because it is ruining not only people's, it's making tunnels all over, but it's also helping some of the headstones tip in. And there's probably about 4 headstones that I noticed that. And where you need to look for them is between 8th and 11th Streets. Look at the middle, and then not quite in the middle, but move down towards the gazebo. And it's almost in the center, but it's not. But if you go out and look, you can see there's probably at least 3 colonies there. So I would request that the city take a look at that and see what they can do for him and us. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Martinez?
Yeah, I've been approached by some residents that because we did away with the urban system, we didn't do away with the urban system, but they don't handle the traffic control. And I don't know what we're doing as a staff, but I want to mention that I have some people interested in trying to get a 4-way stop on Monroe and Grant. They think it's a speed zone there and they'd like to slow the traffic down. I also got a complaint on the overpass. The one-ways going both directions, they would like to change the one that's on the west side headed south to allow them to go straight through, and of course the east side of the overpass allows them to go north. And so I'd like somebody to look at that. I also got some calls on all these holes that the gas company's going around cutting up, these new streets that we put in, the 1.3 million that we did on my ward, and they're cutting them up and replacing gas lines. They want to make sure that we're on top of when they put the asphalt back after burying their ditches and stuff. There's like tons of them. I don't know if they're going to make it by this winter, but they want the city to be on top of the pavement that we paid for, the taxpayers paid for, to get that done. And that's it.
Okay, anybody else? All right, moving on then. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is ordinance, a 3rd reading for registration display. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve on 3rd reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rollins Municipal Code, Section 1054-030, license registration display to clarify the display requirements for license registrations.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve on 3rd reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rollins Municipal Code, Section 10.54.030, license registration display to clarify the display requirements for license registrations. Is there any discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
The only thing is I'd ask legal to kind of clarify this for the public. We've had some individuals call and ask about this, and they just want a more clear definition. I just explain it following state statute. But.
That is exactly what we've done. If you look at the one that's currently published, it is not written for a layperson to understand. It is extremely confusing. So all I did was take the state statutes and basically write it in English so that residents can understand what the requirement is. And all the requirement is that you have to have the license tabs on your plate and the registration up to date.
Thank you.
Is that answer? Okay.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is another ordinance. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve second reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rawlins Municipal Code Title VI Animals, which clarifies responsibilities and consequences associated with nuisance and vicious animals.
Second?
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve second reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rawlins Municipal Code Title VI Animals, which clarifies responsibilities and consequences associated with nuisance and vicious animals. Is there any discussion? Yes, Wendy?
The citizens have shown a little bit of confusion on Facebook, and I want to address something that might not be clear. The purpose of this ordinance being updated is to protect citizens from irresponsible dog owners. Basically, the goal is not to go after every dog that growls behind its own fence. So one of the questions that was asked was, what if my dog is behind a secure fence, he's being supervised, but if people walk by, he growls or barks at them? That is not unprovoked menacing. That is what dogs do. So long as the fencing enclosure is secure and the dog cannot escape that enclosure, that is not what we're talking about with menacing. What we mean is if the dog somehow breaks out of that and goes after a person with absolutely no provocation, that is what we mean by menacing. So I'm hoping that this clarifies we're not trying to get dogs. We're trying to protect people from irresponsible owners who don't take care of their dogs or don't train them or keep control of them. I've had several people who have been injured very badly, and this is to protect those people.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor Wells?
I just want to thank Wendy for putting this together. I think it's overdue, and that the citizens of Rollins need a way to protect people when they've been hurt. So
I agree. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is to approve the payroll. Councilman Garner.
I move to approve the August 28, 2022 through September 10, 2022 payroll register for $250,964.79.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the August 28th, 2022 through September 10th, 2022 payroll register for $250,964.79. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve a resolution amending fees. Councilman Smith?
Accounts payable.
Accounts payable.
Oh, did I skip another one?
Mhm.
My goodness, I'm in a hurry. Oh, sorry. Councilman Smith?
Yes, I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of August 23rd, 2022 to September 9th, 2022 in the amount of $211,387.32.
Second?
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable register for the period of August 23rd, 2022 to September 9th, 2022 in the amount of $211,387.32. Is there any comment? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is resolution amending fees. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve as recommended by the rate specialist Carl Brown, resolution amending fees, finance, water, sewer, and utilities, Appendix E, and fees, Public Works, water connection fee schedule, Appendix I.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve as recommended by rate specialist Carl Brown, a resolution amending fees, finance, water, sewer, and utilities, Appendix E, and fees, Public Works, water connection fee schedule, Appendix 1. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Smith?
I just have a question on shut-off notice fees are currently $25, and you're recommending only $5. Why the decrease? Is it because it's just a letter, or, but I thought it's because you had to go out and do it, that's $60, but to give them notice?
Yeah, we looked at the cost associated with each of those, and the list that comes out of our system is what we analyzed.
Mhm.
And we just felt that the cost that goes into that just it isn't the $25, that it's actually closer to $5, that it resembles, just a smaller fee.
But the fact that they have to send the notice, they have to mail it out, they have staff time, that's got to be more than 5 minutes, or $5. I know this is very minute in the discussion, but.
Yeah, we have, usually a page and a half of those, and it takes about, our staff person, maybe a couple hours to do that. So we just felt like I said, that we could bring that fee down.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Martinez?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would like to amend this resolution to read $21 versus $29.
I would second that.
So there's been an amendment made and seconded to change the amount from $29 to $21. Is there any discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
I just want to clarify and get legal on this. We charge per 100 gallons, not per 1,000. I understand it's a easy mathematical equation, but if it's in a resolution, does that need to be corrected also?
I don't understand your question, I'm sorry.
So the water is charged per 100 gallons. It's at the current rate, I think it's 30 cents per 100 gallons. It works out to $3 per 1,000. But just for legal, the way it's charged and read on the meter, do we need to have that in the resolution also as per 100 at what recommended rate?
So currently, the rate that's proposed is $3.48 per 1,000 gallons. There is no ordinance that gives a description on the unit as 100 gallons or 1,000, but to be uniform in our rates assessment, we went through and did everything on a 1,000 gallon basis.
And as this is a rate appendix, and under our city Title I, it's by resolution that we update fees and other costs, whether it's the 1,000 gallons or the number that's charged, that is all by resolution through Title I of our ordinances.
So I'm just saying the way they meter it right now is per 100 and charge.
Some are by 100, some are by 1,000. In the current resolution, the existing resolution has it in hundreds and thousands.
There is no specific ordinance that says how it will be metered other than this appendix.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Vice Mayor Wells?
I see that this is going to be a huge thing for our community to increase rates, and I have plenty of rentals. It's going to affect me a lot. But I also think not having water is a huge disservice. And if we do not do what was recommended by the specialist, I feel like we're not serving our community to the fullest capacity.
Any further discussion? Councilman Durst?
I would like to agree with Councilwoman Wells that, you know, we listened to several hours of gentlemen explaining why the rates really need to go up as significantly as they do. And while I understand the fixed income, you know, it's going to hurt me just as much as other people, and I get it, and it's painful, and I understand. But the bottom line is this wasn't addressed, and now it has to be. And unfortunately, it has to be addressed significantly. Also, on the flip side, if we don't go all the way, it's very likely that we will miss out on those other grants, because the phrasing that has always been pushed forward was, if there isn't a significant raise, then we will miss our qualifications. You know, and I get it. I really, really do. I truly do. But, you know, even Dan Izzo stood here 6 years ago and said, if this doesn't change, it's going to fail and it's going to run out of money. And here we're looking at next year as the year that it runs out of money. I mean, just exactly the way it was predicted. And in the end, nothing happens. So unfortunately, I'd have to argue it's got to happen this time. I get it, man. I really do. But I have to support the full rate.
All right, so we'll be voting. Did you have something, Councilman Smith?
I've already kind of said what I felt in the workshop, and I get it too. I don't think we have a choice. We're in a box with all of our funders. Even USDA is requiring us to significantly show that we can administer whatever millions of dollars they give us. So I want to thank this community for bearing with us, sacrificing as much as they have, and maybe we can give back somehow next year. And thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll be voting on the amendment.
Correct.
So please open online voting.
I'm just getting legal approval on my wording, if that's okay, and then I could read it to council?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So, just to confirm, Councilmember Martinez, when you stated it to go down to $21, you meant for the 3/4 and 5/8 inch taps, correct?
Right.
Not for everybody, just the ones that are proposed at 29?
For the residential users.
Yeah. Okay, that's how I wrote it. So. So the motion as made by Councilmember Martinez, approve as recommended by rate specialist Carl Brown, a resolution amending fees, finance, water, sewer, and utilities, Appendix E, and fees, public works, water connection fee schedule, Appendix I, with the exception that the base rate for the 3/4 and 5/8 inch taps be reduced from $29.48 per household to $21 per household.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I will open the vote on that motion. Online voting is closed. The motion fails with 2 yeas and 5 nays. The 2 yeas were Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Weisenberg.
All right, thank you. Back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion on it? Councilman Weisenberg.
I guess I just want to get a feeling, because from council, I understand it's only $4.50 increase from the possible 5/8, 3/4 to a 1 inch. In residential areas, I mean, I truly believe we should all pay the same fee as right now, because some people might not have known about the 1 inch and stuff like that. But I think I'd like to see or get the feeling of how you all feel of possibly going in a residential area of the same fee and not increasing on anyone other with a 1 inch in a residential and make the distinguishing factor when it's in a commercial.
Vice Mayor Wells?
I feel like we paid a rate specialist and should entrust in the amazing work he did. So I would like to stick with what has been proposed.
Okay, does anybody else have discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 5 yeas. The 2 nays were Jabari Martinez, Councilman Martinez, and Councilmember Weisenberg.
Okay, thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda is the final payment for replacement of the dangerous retaining wall. Councilman Garner.
I move to approve the use of additional expenses of $2,879 for the replacement of the 1127 9th Street retaining wall, which is currently available in the appropriated dangerous building fund budget.
Second?
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the use of additional expenses of $2,879 for the replacement of the 1127 9th Street retaining wall, which is currently available in the appropriate dangerous buildings fund budget. Is there any discussion? Lou?
Honorable Mayor and Council, during the demolition of the wall, we found an additional 10-foot that was in the alley that gave way during construction. So that was the additional cost of $2,879 is for the steel and the concrete. No labor was charged on that portion of it.
It's just a disposal fee, basically.
Yes. So now we've got the retaining wall done. We've got the security fence up, and it's completed.
Well, it's been a long time coming. Thank you.
It has.
I wanted to say thank you. It looks very good, and I'm sure the neighbor is very happy that they can allow their kids to play in their backyard. Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve the award of municipal solid waste quotes. I would entertain a motion.
I'm going to excuse.
Okay, I understand. Councilman Durst.
I move to approve the award of service agreement for municipal solid waste hauling to Wyoming Waste for $13,426 annual.
Do I hear a second?
For the purpose of discussion, I would second it.
All right, there's been a motion made and seconded to approve the award of service agreement for municipal solid waste hauling to Wyoming Waste for $13,426 annually. Is there any discussion? Councilman Durst?
So I guess at this point in time, I think before we have any further discussion, I would just ask legal to address the issue that was brought to us at the very beginning, as far as if there's a conflict of interest now.
That would be the mayor's decision. However, it is my legal opinion that there would be a conflict when there's a personal conflict between a council member and a business, that then it is not appropriate for that council member to either discuss or vote on any issues involving that business.
to keep it clean, Chris, we'll see you later.
Sure.
But I wonder if I should leave too. Now, I didn't call and cancel my service, but I was attacked by the same person that's the general manager of that company in the same venue, Facebook. So should I also leave?
I believe it's the actions afterward that make the difference. Being called out is different than responding. If you feel uncomfortable or that you cannot be fair, I believe that since you have not responded in any way, that it would be appropriate for you to stay unless you feel uncomfortable.
I think I'd rather leave. Sorry, Jackie.
I won't use your glasses.
Hope you ever see you. Excuse me, Lou. I take a wide berth here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yeah, and I guess the reason that I asked to have this, to discuss is that, was this a bid item? Was
Yes.
It was put out to bid?
Yes.
Okay.
The documents that are attached have both the request for quotes that was originally sent out to both businesses on July 7th. Then, once we got those bids back, there were some confusion and questions about the bids. So we sent out a request for supplemental information on August 10th, and we received updated supplemental bids, and we went from those numbers.
I just wanted to make sure that we're being fair with everybody so it doesn't come back and we go through a battle of.
No, sir, the only two municipal haulers were invited both to bid. When there was confusion in the first bid, we requested supplemental information, and all of that is, all of those documents that were attached is all of those requests and responses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes,
I would like to hear a summary, if I could have Lou do that for us, because I understand there's apples and oranges here that may affect how we feel on the bottom line, and then have you address some of the things that you had.
If I may, there was a summary done, and it's also attached
Is it?
in there. So
There's so many things.
No, that's perfectly fine. So the yearly cost per bid was just as looked at between both companies. So the Wyoming yearly cost based on their bid was $13,426. The yearly cost for Dirty Boys was $18,768. The things that we requested they clarify was things like the cardboard recycling, the recycling roll-offs, services for first responders, and we compared those as apples and apples so that we could see what was done. So Wyoming Waste is willing to set up the cardboard recycling for customers to bring to our facility. Dirty Boys claimed that was worth a $7,200 benefit. With Wyoming Waste willing to do the same thing, those two costs offset.
Can I speak?
Absolutely.
You're talking about, the cardboard is the commercial cardboard that Dirty Boys was picking up for free, not cardboard going down from citizens to the recycle center.
I wasn't finished.
Oh, I know, but you just said it.
But there's extra cardboard that we're talking about. So also Dirty Boys provides free recycle roll-offs and containers, free of costs. Wyoming Waste is willing to do the same. Both companies are willing to provide free dumpsters and emptying of those dumpsters at city events. Neither one provided a full itemization, but both are willing to provide that, so those costs offset. Were there any other specifics that you were interested in?
I just want to make sure that we have everything that you have. I know we have all of these on here, but I wanted to hear it.
Yes, ma'am. Another thing was, one of the things that Wyoming Waste offers that I did not see in the Dirty Boys offer was that Wyoming Waste provides free services for all pickups at the 2 fire stations and the police station. They do not charge for those locations, whereas there are charges listed on the itemization from Dirty Boys.
Is there any other? Councilmember Durst?
So I have a question, because our ordinance specifically says everything has to be picked up once a week, but we're asking about it to be done every other. So I guess I'm curious, how come the city wouldn't be obligated to do the same?
Because it's written in the same ordinance, that it's either by that line item or by any agreement entered into by the city. So by the ordinance's own language, the city can enter into an agreement other than that. And if you'll give me just a second, I will tell you which one that is.
Well, so why don't we allow other people to be able to go into a contract like that if it's more convenient? I mean, why is it just the city gets, to me, that feels like do as I say, but not as I do. If nothing else, we should step forward. If it was for a 3-month period or a special event, I could have a different attitude, but my understanding is this is just for a depot garbage that's there permanently long-term. You know, let's go to a smaller can and pick it up once a week or something would be my thoughts.
If I may have just a second, I may be able to answer that. I'm sorry.
I guess we can let her get documentation.
I apologize, I didn't have this ready to go. I apologize.
You're
This is a very long ordinance.
I don't know where you're at, but this paper that I printed off, and it may not be accurate, is 19 of 23, if that gets you anywhere. Or 19 of 33, I'm sorry. But I don't.
Oh, yes, that's where it says how often.
Right.
It's in a separate place in that same ordinance that, and I do apologize.
While she's looking that up, could I ask a question?
Sure, I have a couple questions myself, but go ahead.
Thank you. Is it fair to say that with the $7,200 itemization from Dirty Boys, that they indeed would provide services that would come in lower than Wyoming Waste? Or am I reading this incorrectly?
That is why I requested the additional supplemental information. However, the revised supplement provided by Dirty Boys still stated a blanket $7,200 a year and did not provide a basis for that number. And that is what we were trying to get at with the supplemental information.
Okay, my second question, haulers are different than contractors, but we don't have the ability to give a 5% discount for local, or, no, I'm sorry, preference. It's not a discount, it's a preference under state law.
Yeah, do we have the ability to support a local company with versus an out-of-town company?
The local is in the state of Wyoming. It's not municipal.
Rollins?
It's not local as in city, it's local as in state. That is the preference, domestic preference.
We can't adopt that.
It's still within the state. They're
You
both
know, but
companies
make it
within the
local.
state.
My other question is, do we do this yearly?
It is supposed to be. I am not able to find that it was redone this year. So the information that I have is still for year 2021. And that is the best answer I can give you. It should be done yearly, yes.
Questions? I call for the question.
We gotta wait until she
She's
gives.
trying to answer yours, don't forget. I forgot, yours is the tough one.
Rose? Jackie, can I explain the cardboard situation? Because I don't think the attorney understands it. Lou, do you understand how the city put out?
Dirty Boys started offering free cardboard service to all of our commercial customers. Then the city started offering that same service to Wyoming Waste customers. So we offered to pick up all of the cardboard, even Wyoming Waste customers and the city's customers, commercial cardboard for free. And we've been doing that for several months. And so in the bid, the $7,200 is the amount Pat Martinez told me the city would save with us picking up that cardboard for free. I can't break that down. I don't work for the city. I don't know how many man hours. And that's why the $7,200 stayed, because it's not my place.
Thank you, Rose. Lou, do you have anything to add?
In whatever conversations that Mr. Martinez has with Pat, if I'm not there, I can't say yes or no. So I think, with that statement, I would be putting myself out on a limb saying, that I did hear that conversation, which I was never part of.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Once this is all resolved.
Okay.
Would it be the council's preference to postpone this vote so that I can do the further research? Because I feel like I'm holding things up by not being able to read fast enough.
Madam Chair, I would move to postpone this item so that we can do further due diligence.
I'll second that.
Is that a friendly motion?
Friendly motion? I just
Any
made
questions
it.
or concerns about that?
And I apologize that I don't have those answers right at hand. I will get them for you immediately, though.
Okay.
Could you also talk to Mr. Martinez too to see how he justified the $7,200?
I will have them at the next meeting here when we discuss this.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Last thing, so just, I will come and, I guess I can bring it to you. I have some billing concerns as well that are from the previous year. I will come and talk to you, we'll put that in the hopper, you can do the research on everything, and then hopefully just come back with a big answer. Does that seem fair? Or do you want to talk right now?
No, I like that. And also, I have, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I should have asked if I could talk. It's getting late, for me anyway. I also want to verify that, and these are rumors, and we get them all the time, but I want to know for sure if Wyoming Waste intends to stay in Rollins. I want some commitment there, or I had heard that there was a possibility they weren't going to be here.
Was there anything in the scope of work that discussed if they don't meet their obligation, what would happen? Is that built in the scope?
There is no contract at this time. That's where that would be. Right now, these are just bids that they are telling us this is how much they will charge. Once we decide on who to grant the bid to, the contract will be written that will have that clause in it.
And what will that clause say?
I can't tell you off the top of my head. There is a clause that we use that requires that people stick to their word. Or we can cancel the contract, we can fine them, we can refuse to pay. There's many different things we can do to hold people accountable.
Okay, any other questions for the council? All right, Myra, can we open online voting?
Just to make sure I understand, that was just the one motion being amended, correct? It was a friendly?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, the motion would be to postpone.
Yes.
Hopefully that is showing on your screens.
Yep, thank you.
Oh. Online voting is closed. The motion carries with 4 yeas and Councilman Weisenberg, Mayor Wycombe, and Councilman Gardner not present at vote.
Thank you. I would ask that we bring back in our council members and mayor.
With that vote. Yeah, you can clear that up for that one topic.
Thanks.
Jackie.
Sun keeps calling.
Alrighty, let me get caught up here.
We're on executive session.
This is your time. Remember you said you were gonna do it. Is it my turn right now? Yeah, you said you were gonna do it. Come on, Daryl's doing it.
Are you ready, Daryl?
Are you ready, Daryl?
Alright.
We're at an executive session.
Okay.
She got her hand up.
Okay.
She's going to let Daryl do it.
Yeah.
Councilman Garner?
All right,
He
let's
wants
try
it.
this out. All right. Is it 9:01? Okay, I move to go into executive session at 9:01 PM per Wyoming State Statute 16-405 to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law and to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law and to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness, any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated following the hearing or executive session. The governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to go into executive session at 9:01, I think it was.
Yes.
Please open online voting.
Proud of you. Okay, it goes back to Jack.
It's mine.
Oh, yeah, that was good. Well, actually, I guess that one's yours.
Good.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
You said you were gonna do it. Yeah, you did good.
I was just joking.
You're dripping.
And technically, I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't put it out on the internet.
Oh.
Yeah, so I know these are not labeled.
I will be in 20 minutes.
Hey, did we have?
This is the bottom line. So here's your proposed quotes. No total of 11.6. This is from, correct, this is last year. But we're paying them 1369, 1363, 1322. I mean, we're not paying what they. So my